That's good. You have any more?
I think he's answered all of mine.
Well, I've got a couple more. If that's okay. I just didn't want to dominate some more. Okay. Important question. We have a gentleman who works for us named Rick Schaefer. He's Mr. Baseball, Mr. Razorback, Mr. All of that. Is it safe to have athletics? Is it safe to have dance teams? Is it safe to participate in these extracurriculars? Because quite honestly, Dr. Wheeler, many of our students may not come back to us if they don't have those opportunities. So is athletic competition okay? Is dance competition okay? Are all these extracurriculars that students attach to and that we adults love? Is it going to happen? Can it happen? And is there a safe way for it to happen?
So, it depends whose benefit you're trying to achieve. As a society, we know that what we've observed in the last few weeks is that most of the new cases are happening in very young people because they're getting together and they believe they're immortal and they not following the rules necessarily, and they're interacting with each other at pretty high levels. And most of those people are doing okay. But the number of cases that result from that and the secondary cases that occur among parents and grandparents and whatever is the big issue. So one way to ask the questions is sports safe for the rest of us? And I think there's some concern about that. There are some sports that you can play without really violating the issues around social or physical distance. Things that are not big high school sports like badminton and that kind of thing. Or tennis is a relatively big sport in some schools, but again, the big things that are drivers are basketball, football, volleyball, softball, etc. I think it's going to be different. Some sports are clearly safe to proceed with, others are not. The Department of Health has been putting out regular directives on when we think it's time for regular types of sports to proceed. I think the reality is for this fall that it's probably not going to proceed for the main contact sports unless we see a dramatic drop in cases. And that's probably not going to be any individual decision by a school district. I think the Arkansas State athletic bodies, as well as the governor and the Secretary Key, are probably going to have a lot of input on that, along with the Department of Health. And that, it's not just that; it's like I said, dance team and band practice and whatever. The current directive on band practice will allow it to occur, but part of the reason for having band practice is so that you can play games, or that you can perform. And most of those performances have typically been indoor settings which would be considered sort of mass gatherings, and where the musicians are compressed together more than 6 feet. And you can go out on a football field and you can spread people out and you can have a band practice. So a lot of the goals may be different. It may be more musical education and experience. And that can be done in a lot of settings in a positive way, at least as far as band goes. As far as athletic teams, again, the focus may be on physical development and skill building, which can still be done. You can still learn how to punt, pass, and kick, and compete that way without necessarily having full-scale scrimmages and games. So I think this is going to be one of those sacrifice things, something we've had to do throughout our history. If you go back and look at all the college football records throughout time, you'll notice there were a few years where there was no college football. It was during World War II. And this may be one of those times where we're going to lose a year. But I don't want to predict that. I again, hope that we can see a dramatic turnaround on our case numbers, and it may be possible in the future that we can have a few games this year. But I don't think we're going to be starting on time.